Hey y'all, Creations by Courtney here with the next video for the Olivia Tunisian Lace Cardigan Crochet Along. We have moved from the sleeves to the back to the sleeve to the front, and now we get to make it long. If you want to stop at this point, you would need to bind off the front sections, and that would make it a cropped length around the waist. If you want it longer, then definitely follow along. Now, one thing that you will want to do before getting started is to place stitch markers. For example, if for your size you need to add 20 stitches, you want to put a majority of those along the back, because remember we worked the back in rows, so there's not as many stitches as there are along the fronts. And remember, when we increase on the front, this adds 2 stitches. So like, for example, I need to add 16, so I'm only going to increase twice on each side, because an increase here adds 2 stitches, 2 more stitches, that's 4, 6, 8, and then I'm going to put 8 along the back. I hope that makes sense. And if you have questions, definitely ask. But again, the instructions are within the pattern, and the links are all down below. When you increase along the back, because this is almost like working into a chain, it's going to be slightly different. It's just a yarn over instead of a full stitch and a yarn over. So I will show you what that's going to look like for this first row, and just count. If you have more stitches, it's going to be really forgiving, because I know we all struggle with counting. Continue in pattern, so if you need to start with a simple stitch or a yarn over, please do that, which is why we did not fasten off after completing the left front. And when you get to your first stitch marker, that is your reminder to make your increase. So we would normally yarn over to skip this and then make a mod TSS here, but we're going to make our yarn over as usual. But now we're going to do a Tunisian full stitch, yarn over, and if you need to, you can remove your stitch marker, yarn over. These two are the increase, okay? And then make your mod TSS. So continue in pattern until you get to the back section. All right, so I've gotten to the end of the front, and I do have a stitch marker as an increase, but I'm going to make my Tunisian simple stitch, right? And now I'm going to yarn over. That is the increase. And I'm going to make a Tunisian simple stitch into the first stitch along the back. Yarn over, skip a stitch, Tunisian simple stitch into the next one. So this is how we continue the pattern and keep it consistent. Okay, we're going to yarn over. We're going to skip this one. We're going to make a Tunisian simple stitch. Now yarn over, but make your next Tunisian simple stitch here rather than skipping a stitch. And that's what I mean, that for the back of the yarn over is the increase, because we just need to add that 1 stitch there. And then yarn over, skip the next stitch. That's how we continue the pattern. And this is why it helps to put the stitch markers before you get started. When you get to the end here, we have a TSS. I have another stitch marked. This is a modified Tunisian simple stitch, so we're just going to yarn over, and this will be the last increase. And if you want to check, right? So I had 33 stitches here. I should now have 41. So think about how many you needed to add. You just want to check that before you continue, in case you need to go back at this point, okay? But continue, make your increases like we did before with the Tunisian full stitch, yarn over, and then you'll do your return pass. And this is the only time you have to increase. So you will literally work, do your forward pass, return pass for the entire length. So below the waist, just to ensure that you have your desired length. So keep stitching, and we will come back together once you're at your desired length so I can show you the bind off and to make the edge. Alrighty, so at this point, if you have made your last row, again, not finished, not bound off yet, you should have something that looks like this. And this was the right sleeve that we started with. Let me flip this over. We went from the right sleeve across the back to the left sleeve, and then we worked this way to create the right front with a joinless seam, and then we created the left front also seamlessly until you had your desired length. So if you are to lay it out flat, you should have the fronts that do have a bit of extra fabric here. This comes from lining up the sleeves and the increases, which again gives room for those who need it at the chest. It will cross when laid flat because the back was made to be more narrow than the front. And now we're going to bind off and move on to the edging. And this is really straightforward. If you would like a more detailed edging, please do that. If you want to keep it simple, like I'm going to demonstrate, you have that option too. So when we bind off, we chain 1 and then insert your hook like a mod TSS to slip stitch, and then go into the next vertical bar and slip stitch. And you're just going to do this all the way around. Now, if you intend to add to your edging, say you want to do back post, front post stitches, you have the option to do a single crochet, and that would look like this. You'll still chain 1. Again, insert your hook in the same way, and and just make your single crochet in each vertical bar, just like this. So the pattern's written for a slip stitch bind off, but if you intend to add to your edging, you can still do slip stitch, just be loose, or you could do a single crochet like so. And so we're going to bind off, right, all the way around the hem, and you're going to then continue your work this way.